and COA will require a resolution of intent to bond. In fact, COA is requiring such a resolution from all municipalities. You also have a draft development fee ordinance. Edison will impose a 1.5% development fee ordinance on all residential development, and also a 2.5% non-residential development fee, and that 2.5% is mandated by the state by what's known as the Roberts Bill. There's also a draft affordable housing ordinance in your plan. However, COA, from the time that it was adopted, the housing element and fair share plan to today, COA just posted, a new affordable housing ordinance on its website. So the one that's in here will remain, and when COA does the plan review, COA will require that any affordable housing ordinance be consistent with its model ordinance. And that's basically all of the parts of your plan, your housing element, your fair share plan, and all of the additions and the supplemental information that will be submitted to COA. And tonight, the Township Council will endorse the plan by resolution, and it will also pass a resolution of intent to bond so that all can be on COA's doorstep no later than December 31st. Once COA receives these 250 to 300 plans, COA will send out either a completeness letter or an incomplete letter. We are all expecting incomplete letters because this petition application that COA has everything has to be in place. So do not be surprised if there is an incomplete letter sent. Municipalities have 45 days to give COA all of the information that COA may be requesting. And at the end of the once the completeness letter is sent, that is when Edison publishes notice that the petition has been deemed complete, and there is a 45-day objector period for anyone to file an objection with COA and with Edison regarding the plan. If there are objections to the plan, and this is new, Edison will have to respond in writing within 20 days of receiving an objection. What you should also be aware of, there are 24 lawsuits filed against the COA regulations upon which this plan was based. In addition, at the League of Municipalities, some legislators expressed very great dismay at how COA is interpreting the Fair Housing Act and the Roberts Bill. And there are rumors that there will probably be amendments to the Fair Housing Act. But regardless, Edison still has to have the plan to COA by December 31st. And what you should know is that Edison may amend this plan. In addition to the spending plan being fluid, this plan is fluid also based on the COs that come online, based on any other housing options that you may want to consider in the present or even in the future, and also based on the uncertainty that's surrounding all of the adoptions. And with that, I would also like to make one mention that this document was not prepared by one person. This was a truly collaborative effort, and I would like to thank Brandy Forbes, Sue Peck, Jeff Lehrer, John Medina, Anthony Cancro, the mayor, and Scott Peterson for all of their help and input on putting this plan together. Thank you.
Council President, I'd just like to say one thing. Just to understand, Council and members of the public, what this body can do. The agreement, the housing element and fair share plan actually was adopted by the Planning Board last week as an amendment to their master plan. So therefore, that's an adopted document. What you are being asked to do is to adopt a resolution to petition COA. You actually have to adopt a resolution forwarding the petition that Shirley has prepared and has been adopted by the Planning Board to COA. You are the body that instructs that it be sent down to COA. You also have a resolution in your packets on a resolution of an intent to bond. I know that Shirley mentioned a significant shortfall, but understand that it is a resolution. It is not a bond ordinance. It is just a resolution of intent. Resolutions, by their nature and legally, die at the end of the year. So you're not binding yourself by adopting that, but unfortunately, it is one of COA's procedural requirements. Shirley had also mentioned that there's some legislation that's out there to amend the Fair Housing Act. One of them, by the way, is to actually abolish COA and start all over again. I'm not sure that that's going to get any legs, but it's out there. So yes, COA is in a state of absolute disarray. I actually spoke with one of the attorneys at COA who said that she's probably she's the most the worst position in government right now, because it is so onerous what they have to accomplish and what they're dealing with, and the number of lawsuits that they have to deal with. So in that context, I just wanted to tell you what your jurisdiction is.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Well, Ms. Bishop, you certainly did a good job of outlining it for us, and I know a lot of hard work has gone into it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Council President,
Sir?
if I might, the list of questions that any of us have on this topic probably would fulfill this night and many more. What I'd like to know, what I'd like to ask the attorney through you, is that pending these lawsuits, pending this litigation, and particularly getting my interest, the intent to bond, we could potentially short-circuit a lot of the discussion if we could modify both of the resolutions. That's 640, which is the plan, and I believe 648, which is the intent to provide, I think we call it adequate resources, the intent to bond. If we could modify those two resolutions, what I want to know through the attorney is with the words "without prejudice," without prejudice to subsequent litigation, without prejudice to subsequent legislation, without prejudice to any other factor which might alleviate our problem with COA. That's what I'd like to know from the attorneys.
Council President, I appreciate Councilman Massaro's comment, and trust me, I'm on all fours with his comment. The only concern I have with adding that language is these are form resolutions that are on COA's website. I am concerned that it could have the potential of backfiring, and that COA would not accept our petition, and they may reject it with that language. I have no difficulty if the councilman, and he has, during the public portion, stated that on the record, so it's part of our minutes, but I do have some concerns in modifying the resolutions and there's a risk, I'm not saying it's a big risk, but running the risk that they won't accept our petition. And in that context, I would...
Mr. Lair, I understand not wanting to monkey with another division's form. I truly do. But what I'm looking to do is to accomplish the same thing, whether we modify their form or if we could do it in some other way. You had mentioned reading it into the record.
Right.
Would that have, if we read into the record upon adoption, that these resolutions, in this case 640 and 648 specifically, are without prejudice to the outcome of the litigation, without prejudice to pending litigation or litigation to come, or legislative action, or anything else that would happen at COA, would that have the same effect in helping us?
Well, what I might suggest, it surely is, through the council president, is that in your transmittal letter to COA, that you include that language, as opposed to including it in the resolutions themselves, so that on behalf of the township, you're including that language.
Council President, if I could, one more?
Sure.
Then would that have the same effect, Mrs. Bishop, as altering the resolutions themselves?
Probably would have more of an effect because we would put it in bold
Okay.
in the transmittal letter,
Okay.
and it wouldn't affect the resolution.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you again, Ms. Bishop.
How do we get on board with abolishing COA?
There are actually 30 co-sponsors of that legislation. I could show you a copy of it. Just one question, Council President.
Sure.
Shirley, I don't know whether it's necessary for Shirley to stay for the public hearing on those resolutions. She certainly has volunteered, but I don't know if it's necessary to keep her here. Just your thought.
Well, I think she's explained it, and I think you can explain it if we need to. So I think it's all right, Ms. Bishop, but it's
Council
not necessary.
President, before Mrs. Bishop goes, there was, this was presented at the planning board, and although I was not at the planning board meeting, I did get to watch that. Was there anything that happened from that planning board presentation, Mrs. Bishop, that this council needs to know? Okay,
Okay.
you too.
Thank you.